Got it. All right, are you ready to get this thing rolling? I hear those birds outside. It's Nick gurgling as well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the 143. This is episode 90, Under Review, coming at you live.
Got another doozy this week. The Cowboys bouncing back after
In a big way.
gut-wrenching loss to the Arizona Cardinals. They came back and smacked the Patriots in the mouth, handing Coach Belichick his worst loss
Largest loss of his career?
ever. So that's
38-3.
That's something to take into account.
I mean, the defense did what the defense does, and but we'll talk about that game here in a second. Let's kick it off. We're in week 4 of the NFL season. Still very happy to have football with us. And so, stat of the week brought to you by Andrews Logistics. The New York Giants, who we saw on Monday Night Football, get absolutely obliterated by the Seattle Seahawks.
An atrocious game.
The Giants have not looked good. They've won a game against the Cardinals, but they shouldn't have won that game. And stat this week is the Giants have only had the lead in 19 seconds of game time. So as our prime statistician here, I did the math, and they've played 4 games, 60 minutes a game. That is 14,440 seconds total, and they've only led 19 of those seconds in game time.
That is brutal.
They are
I
terrible.
want to say they gave up, was it 11 sacks?
11 sacks last night.
So it was what we over in this business would call, it was another massacre at
Yes.
MetLife for the Jets.
Another
They just did
massacre
not look good. And
for the Giants.
Brian Daboll was not happy with
Nope.
Daniel Jones. There was some
I think it's
tension there.
I think it's time to see that Daniel Jones was not worth the
A
$250 million
cent that he was paid.
Yeah, he made a lot of money this offseason, so
But nonetheless, we'll move on. Your player of the week was Christian McCaffrey, who had himself a day.
on the other side of the spectrum.
looking like he could be the MVP if he keeps
this up.
doing this. He had
definitely
4
will.
total touchdowns, rushed for 106 yards, had 71 receiving yards, 3 rushing TDs, and 1 receiving TD. I mean,
He was crazy.
he just straight up cooked the Cardinals defense, which is what we
49ers.
should have done last week, but for some reason, I don't know what happened.
Niners are looking like the best team in football right now. Let's get into it. So
Because they're the one team that has actually played consistently every week. Obviously, a lot of people are saying Dolphins,
yeah.
but
they had a bad week
when they
this week.
face a tougher opponent in the Buffalo Bills, I want to say they're tough. They're their toughest opponent they've faced so far. They have fallen short after hanging 70 on the Broncos.
They almost gave up 50.
I mean, yeah, they almost gave up 50.
With the Dolphins-Bills game, the Dolphins lost 48-20 in Buffalo. I would say it wasn't a great outing from the Dolphins at all, especially defensively. But and the Bills' defense took care of business as well, like they should have against the Dolphins. But I'm not worried about the Dolphins at all. I think the Dolphins will be okay. They just had an off week.
Absolutely.
Their offense is so good that they'll be okay. Their
You
defense
can't
is
count
not
them
bad
out.
either. Just the Bills came out. They were the better team. They were the more prepared team, and
Man, Josh Allen has been playing with a vengeance.
he has been.
We said that after they had lost to the Jets, they came out and they've just been stomping people. They took that loss to heart. They really proved everyone wrong, saying that the Bills weren't like that this year. And I mean, they're coming out and performing. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, I think that the Bills are. I mean, they lost the first game, and everyone was like, "Josh Allen is terrible. He's not good this year." But,
Yeah.
the Bills are legitimate Super Bowl contenders this year, as they are every year. I just think the Dolphins are also legitimate contenders right now. Not a great outing from them, but they will play again later in the season, and it's only week 4. So I don't think there's anything to worry about if you're a Dolphins fan right now. Like, as long as they all stay healthy, you'll be fine. And then the Bills look great, so congrats to them on that win. We'll go Niners, Cardinals real quick since we just talked about C-Mac. This game isn't significant, but we're talking about the Niners because that is the Cowboys' next opponent. We're playing San Francisco in San Francisco, and, man, they look good right now. They look unbeatable.
They've been our, there's some tension there. They've been our kryptonite. They beat us these the last 2 seasons in a row in the playoffs, once at their place and once at our place. So this is a real telling game for the Cowboys, seeing how can we handle pressure against a good team.
This defense is scary, and the offense is even more scary right now.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy is one of the best QBs in the NFL, even though nobody wants to talk about him. And their defense is crazy. Like they are every year. They're fighting with us for the best defense in the league right now.
I mean, they're just one of the most sound teams in the league, like top to bottom. They're
All
just
around.
ridiculous.
And beating them is going to be tough, but not impossible. I would say you got to contain Christian McCaffrey. It starts there.
Also, I was going to say what the MO has been this season is you got to come beat our defense. Like, if you come and beat the Cowboys defense, then obviously you're probably going to win that game because, once again, unfortunately, we have been struggling in that red zone. That's pretty frustrating to see because our offense has been, for the most part, doing a good job at moving the ball down the field, but they just stall out in the red zone.
We're terrible in the red zone, and if you're kicking field goals, you're not winning in this league. You might win a couple games, but you got to score, you got to convert when you're in the red zone, and we've been unable to do that a large part because of Dak and his decision-making in the red zone. Hopefully we can get that hammered out for this week because this is not going to be one of those blowout games for us. We're going to have to really hang in there.
Well, because the other thing is not that the offense is horrible. Like, our offense is not bad. It's just for some reason we get inside the 15 or the 10 and we can't punch it in, and that's so frustrating to watch.
And he's been making good reads and good plays outside the red zone. Like, we can get to the red zone pretty good. Like, we'll get down there. We just can't convert, and it's been very frustrating. But like we said, the Niners are the best team in football right now, and to go into their place and beat them, it's going to take red zone offense, and it's going to take everything to beat this team. Our run defense hasn't been great. It's got to be better.
We're gonna have to be close to perfect.
I mean, Christian McCaffrey
as close to
will run all
perfect as
over our
possible.
defense.
Yeah.
So Brock Purdy, he's got a great mind. He's got a good arm, and those receivers are
Good receiving core. He's been dicing up defenses left and right.
But we
People
saw
don't want to
him-
give him the credit, but he's a solid.
We did a good
quarterback.
job against them in the playoffs last year, holding them to 19 points. And I think that if we come out and do that again, we've got a good chance to win. We can't give up 35 like the Cardinals did, or we're probably not going to take
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So the defense has got to play like they've been playing, and they've been really good this year. Trayvon not being there hurts a lot.
The other thing too is our defense is very turnover heavy.
Yes.
So
Create
what that
those.
means for offense is when you get those turnovers from the defense, you have to take advantage of that because that's what's going to change the course and momentum of the game. So we just need our offense to take advantage of the opportunities that they're given. Another team we always like to talk about, the Eagles, squeaked out a win in overtime against the Commanders.
Team they
Somehow,
should have beat very soundly, but
I was
they
about
didn't.
to say they should have won that game by like 25.
Sam Howell didn't look bad. He looked decent.
But more
and-
importantly, the Eagles did not look all that great
No, they didn't.
that game. For some reason, the Commanders have been their kryptonite. I guess not actually because they beat them this year, but they've been struggling against the Commanders.
No, they have, and we were both really hoping for the Commanders. I'm pretty sure started out with the ball in overtime and just
Couldn't
do
move it at
anything
all.
with
So
it.
then it came down to a field goal.
And the Eagles, they can get into field goal range. Like, it's not that the Eagles they can't always convert, but they did. And Eagles are 4-0 now, so we got to hear about the Eagles for another week. And
Still being undefeated. Whatever.
Eagles next games though, you got
They got a tough stretch.
Rams, Jets, Dolphins, and then Commanders again, and then us. So that's the next 5 games. They'll probably beat the Jets, but I would say the Rams and everyone else is going to be a tough game
I mean, we both,
for the Eagles.
us and the Eagles, we got some tough schedules. Like, we got some tough games ahead, and so do the Eagles. So I'm excited for that just because that'll get us playoff ready. You know, we don't have a cupcake schedule, as
We do not have an easy
some
schedule
people
at
like
all.
to say.
So this game against San Francisco starts us off with a very tough stretch before our bye week. So
Yes.
if we could go in and have a winning record through this stretch, I'd be happy.
I mean, that would be
Through the 5-game
huge.
stretch, if we could come out
because
4-1.
these are all teams that are going to be competing in the playoffs. So these will be like
Yes.
good, solid wins.
These are teams we will probably see again. So if we make it to the playoffs, which we hopefully will. So we got to bring our best against San Francisco. To get a statement win like that would be great. It'd just be a huge morale booster week 5 of the season and give us some good energy to go forward with. Another game, there weren't a crazy amount of like important games this week.
No.
But another just interesting thing was the Chiefs barely got out of MetLife with a win against the Jets, which everyone thought they would blow them out.
I mean, they should have.
And Zach Wilson came out and played pretty well.
He did not look terrible.
And it's against a good defense. He had more passing yards, passing touchdowns than Patrick Mahomes.
I think this was the first time someone had outperformed Patrick Mahomes in every statistic
Yes.
as the opposing quarterback. Obviously, he didn't win, but he did not look like the normal Zach Wilson. He was going through his reads. He was getting the ball out quick, making good throws.
I think even though they lost, this is what the Jets needed to go forward because they needed a morale booster. They've been pretty down when Aaron Rodgers got hurt, and it was left to Zach Wilson. He has not looked good. They needed to see that they can trust their quarterback, and not saying they make playoffs, but they need to be competitive throughout the season. So I think Zach Wilson needed this too. He's been getting torched by
Just
the
a
New York
morale
media.
booster.
As a New York team, you're under a lot of scrutiny every game, and so they've been under a lot of pressure. And so even though they didn't win, a lot of people are now kind of saying Zach Wilson's not as bad as it's been.
But obviously, it's only one game,
One
so
game.
he has to come out and do that again next week.
He does.
Another interesting game that was slotted was the face-off between the two 0-3 teams, the Bears versus the Broncos.
What a shootout.
The Broncos, who have one of the worst defenses you've ever seen, got 28 put on them by Chicago, but did walk away with the win.
They
So
made Justin Fields look really good.
let's go ahead and go through Justin Fields' his stats from that game. I would say pretty decent, but obviously, all right. Let's just go through it. He was 28 for 35 with 335 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, but 1 interception. And the unfortunate thing is that 1 interception came at the worst possible time of the game. They were down 31-28. I want to say it's like minute and a half or so, a little less than 2 minutes left in the game. They're driving down the field, down 3. You got to at least get in field goal range to tie the game. And
the
he
pass was to get into field goal range.
throws a pick, and that seals the game for Denver. Their first win of the season. Russell Wilson finally getting his feet under him.
That defense got him out of it, even though they played terribly throughout the whole game. Justin Fields had 335 passing yards for 4 touchdowns. I mean,
That's a solid
he looked good.
statistical
But
performance.
It was just against the Broncos who gave
But
up
also,
70
it's just
points.
unfortunate because that 1 interception
Yes.
is what decided the game in the
And
end.
that game mattered not at all. So there you go for the whole season.
It didn't, but it was just getting...
We said we'd highlight Fields every week, and we
It was
did.
getting a little bit of hype because both teams were 0-3, so it was like, oh, well, someone has to win, so someone's finally getting...
And the Vikings
a win.
also finally got their first win against an
Yes.
0-3 team against the Panthers. Their offense was terrible. Kirk Cousins did not play good, but they got the win because Carolina's not great either. So the 0-3 matchups, the Vikings and the Broncos came out of it with a win, and the Panthers and the Bears are 0-4. So
that's pretty unfortunate.
it's not great. Panthers have a little bit of an excuse. They're in a rebuilding year. The Bears,
No one expected them to be
the
good.
Bears are just not good, and the Bears were supposed to be good this year. So a lot of stuff to figure out for the Bears right now.
Titans-Bengals, that one, it's just it's been frustrating for Bengals fans and for Joe Burrow fans because
They're
the Bengals
not
have
good
not looked good.
at all.
I mean, they fall to 1-3, but they scored 3 points.
A lot of stuff keeps being said
against
about Joe
Tennessee.
Burrow calf injury that he's been dealing with, but the bottom line is Joe Burrow's playing, so he's
out
going to
there
get criticized
every single week.
I don't
calf
know.
injury or
I think
not.
He may have thrown for I could be wrong, but 1 passing touchdown all season.
He has
played in every
not
game.
looked good. He threw
he's
for
not-
165 on Sunday. Obviously, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but Derrick Henry went out there for one pass and he threw a touchdown. So that does not look good if you're Joe Burrow. I mean, Cincinnati's been struggling, and
Tennessee's not good either.
Yeah, Tennessee's not good either, but also that their division, the AFC North, the Bengals, their division is looking pretty good this year. So you're going to have to be able to perform because the Browns have looked better. The Ravens are looking better.
And the Steelers are looking good. So, yeah, they're all three teams are looking way better than the Bengals right now. And they got out of the Rams game with a win by 3, but they shouldn't have even won that game. So they just have not played well at all. And there's frustration from Jamar Chase, their star receiver. There's frustration all around, as there should be. But, yeah, they're the most disappointing this season.
I know a lot of Joe Burrow fantasy owners are pretty frustrated because he got taken pretty highly as a fantasy quarterback.
I took him,
but
actually.
Has not been performing.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Ravens, they had a bounce-back week this week after suffering heartbreaking loss to the Colts. They came and put up 28 on the Browns,
a division rival.
So that's a good outing for them. Lamar Jackson came out, hung 4 TDs on the day. Obviously, for the Browns, Deshaun Watson was not there. He was
a last-minute scratch.
He was scratched at the end of it, so it was Dorian Thompson-Robinson. But, I mean, when you're the Ravens, you got to take advantage of that, and they did. So that's good for them. Super excited that they're finally getting their feet under him. Lamar Jackson's looking good. Passed for 2 touchdowns, ran for 2 touchdowns, so he is just doing Lamar Jackson things. He's doing what's expected of him, so good on you, Lamar Jackson.
Chargers get the win against the Raiders without Jimmy Garoppolo. They only won by 7, but Khalil Mack had 6 sacks. The Chargers started out 0-2, and they're now 2-2. So
slowly coming back. That offense is looking like it's supposed to.
Yep.
A little bit more week after week. Like last week, they looked lights out. This week, they've looked better than they have been.
They got the win
in the past. They did enough to win, and that's really all you can ask for from a team. Rams won. This week, they moved to 2-2. Puka Nacua finally gets his first touchdown of the season.
Puka Nacua's been playing out of his mind.
He's having a disgusting year.
He's got 503 total yards on the season.
He is outpacing the other 2 best receiving seasons in NFL history. Obviously, big story with that is you have the same quarterback in all of those scenarios, Matthew Stafford.
He makes his receivers good.
Greatest force feeder in all of sports. I mean, you can't deny it.
No. Matt Stafford looks great. Anthony Richardson didn't look terrible either. They were down 23-0 and they came back to send it into overtime. They just couldn't get the job done in overtime. But Anthony Richardson as a rookie
he finally
quarterback
lasted the entire game.
Yes, he didn't come out with an injury, so that was a big thing.
That's been a big thing is his concussion injuries, but he was actually able to.
He's got to get
stay out there.
The throwing under control. He's looking like he's more of just a takeoff quarterback, running quarterback, and we've seen that doesn't last long, very very long in this league. So
yes, absolutely.
Got to become more of a thrower of the ball. But he's a rookie. He's got a good offensive coordinator. He'll figure it out. And then last one we can talk about is Bucks beat the Saints pretty soundly. Buccaneers are looking way better than anyone thought they would. They are now 3-1.
Baker Mayfield is actually being efficient with the football somewhat. Threw for 246 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. So
Derek Carr did not look good.
He's looking a lot better. Yes, Derek Carr did not look good. But the Buccaneers moved to 3-1. So it's looking like they're the team to beat for that division.
Exactly.
In the NFC South. Obviously, there was a lot of hype surrounding Atlanta, but people were sleeping on Tampa Bay, and they're showing up to play, so good for them.
Yeah, good for Tampa. And overall, not a crazy week of football. Not really any crazy games. Hopefully next week will be a little bit more exciting, and hopefully the Sunday night game will follow.
Everyone is going to be, all eyes are on, like just that Sunday night game. 49ers, Cowboys, a little clash of the Titans
An
action.
actual good primetime game. Can you believe that?
Finally. We keep the Jets and Giants keep getting
the Jets
all
and
these
Giants were
stinking
overhyped
games.
all offseason, and they got all the primetime games, and now they've ruined every single primetime game because they're in all of them. So
I genuinely don't know how they choose who gets those games because
I think it's big city markets.
they have
it's the
been
big city markets.
consistently bad.
They have. It's ridiculous.
It's pretty frustrating to watch. But, hey, you'll get a good one this weekend. Don't worry, folks.
Yep.
So here's who like to end our shows on Under Review. I've brought you a quote from the legendary Don Shula. He said, "I have no magic formula. The only way I know to win is through hard work." That's the truth.
That is the truth. Thank y'all for tuning in this week. We will see y'all next week with another episode of Under Review.